Andre Roxx.
Andre Roxx. He's clowning Pasco cops. Andre Roxx, not because of his size. You know who sang that originally?
Who's that?
I think it's Big Mike. Big Mike?
Okay.
I think I'm wrong. Anyways, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm great. Great. Well, I mean, I'm still mad about the bike, but...
Hold on. You know I'm recording and you don't mind me publishing, right?
No, not at all.
All right, so last time we talked, I actually recorded and somehow lost it, or the phone didn't record it. But we talked about a bunch of things. Let's just go over everything one more time. Let's start from the beginning. You just moved to Newport Richey, Florida. And Port Richey, there's a difference?
Yeah, there's Port Richey and Newport Richey. Port Richey is like a little small town.
That's like New Tampa.
Yeah.
That's half the calories. Anyway, so you recently moved to Port Richey, and within 2 weeks, you went to go pick up a motorcycle, one of your favorite motorcycles. You put it on a trailer that it was a little bit too heavy for, and it went down to the ground and bent the license plate up just a little bit, just enough so the cops can pull you over.
Yeah, actually, it was 3 days after I had moved to...
3 days after you're moving to Port Richey, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 days after we moved to Port Richey, they pulled us over. My father was driving the vehicle.
And they had the live PD crew with them?
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
no joking.
Okay. So they asked your dad for ID. He gives it to him. The video shows everything in reverse because it was Facebook Live. Then they asked you for ID, and you told them, "I'm a passenger, sir." Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I told them that I was a passenger in the vehicle, and that I was not required to identify myself to them under the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, the right to be secure in my papers and my person.
And Florida Statute 901.151. Go on.
Well, at the time, I wasn't familiar with Florida Statute 901.151, but I was familiar with Stuffleby v. Harris, which was a federal court ruling that set the precedent. So I wasn't too concerned with Florida law. As I said in the video, Florida law could never trump a national law. I mean, that's Article 6 of the Constitution of the United States.
Right. Well, very good. Go on. So the cops, like, in Florida, you have to.
Right. And I instructed the officer that in Florida, or as I said, Florida law cannot trump national law. And national law states that I do not have to identify myself unless, of course, they have a reasonable suspicion of a crime being committed. Of
an actual crime. And Florida law states the exact same thing. He was lying, like cops do, because they're allowed under several Supreme Court cases have stated that police can lie, and they take full advantage of it. So go on.
Right, which is exactly why it is so important for us to know our rights for ourselves.
Correct.
Because these officers are legally allowed to lie to you.
Yes.
And if you don't know your rights, you cannot stand up for them and you cannot defend yourself.
Because you don't know if they're lying or not if you don't know the actual law yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as we call, police officers don't like to be called out when they're lying.
Or ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, of course, they arrested me.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. They said step out of the car. You obliged them. As soon as you stepped out of the car, tell us.
Slammed you
up against the car.
They made the statement that they wanted to bring the canines out to sniff the exterior of our vehicle.
Oh, of course.
And I don't understand what probable cause for a drug sniff was. You had my father, who is a 26-year military veteran, my uncle, who is also a military veteran, and myself in the vehicle, and none of us gave any indication that we were carrying drugs or anything like that, because we don't.
Well, if you exercise your rights, you must be a criminal. Don't you understand that? That's police mentality.
Well, we're African-American men.
Oh, that too. And I try not to bring race into it, but whatever. Go on.
Oh, I'll bring it into it because we've seen over and over again that police officers are actually trained. Especially, we had that issue in New Jersey in the early 2000s where the New Jersey Highway Handbook literally taught highway patrol officers to stop if they saw multiple African American men in the vehicles, multiple men in the vehicle. It was literally in their handbook, which is what prompted the Bush-era initiatives that, by the way, the current president had rolled back one of his first initiatives in office.
Stop and frisk.
Prompted the Bush-era initiatives to outlaw racial profiling. Believe it or not, George W. Bush actually did a lot to outlaw racial profiling.
So New Jersey handbook for police actually said that if there's more than several black people in a car, that should suspicious and should be stopped and checked out?
Yeah. Find a reason to pull them over.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, this was in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004 era.
Okay.
And that was a huge, huge deal. So we know the police are trained to racially profile. As a matter of fact, I've had several conversations on my radio show with Philadelphia police officers. And, those who are retired or have left the force, they'll tell you, yes, we are taught to racially profile. We had that situation in New York where the officer recorded her sergeant yelling at her. She was a Port Authority cop for not stopping enough black men. I don't know if you heard that recording. It's up on SoundCloud. But basically he was telling her, hey, the black men are the ones who are causing the problems, but you're not stopping enough of them. You've only stopped 2 black men over the last year.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So that brings some validity to what you're saying, and I didn't know about those things, and it could possibly be another reason they stopped you. So from there, you get out the car, they slam you up against the car, they want to bring drug-sniffing dogs because you exercise your rights and possibly because you're black. Go on from there.
Correct. Well, the moment that I was asked to step out of the vehicle, they slammed me up against the car.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen very carefully to the tape of my arrest, you'll hear that the last words that are spoken before the video cuts off are, get his phone.
Yeah.
They knew that I was recording, as you can see in the video. They attempted to obstruct the recording several times by shining flashlights directly into the camera. And they were very concerned about me recording. So
sure.
They snatched my phone from me, to which I started yelling at them that this is my property, and unless you have a warrant, you cannot seize my property. Of course, they did not listen to that. They also seized my wallet. And if you read the extended police report, they admit to this. They even admit that I instructed them that this is my property. I asked them if I was under arrest several times. The first time they said, no, you're not under arrest. And they began to seize my property. Now, if I'm not under arrest, they clearly have no right to seize my property.
Right.
And then the second time they said, yes, you are under arrest. One of the officers twisted my finger and twisted my wrist. My wrist actually still hurt. I was slammed against the vehicle. My shoulder, there was a lot of damage. Well, my shoulder was in pain for quite a while. I'll admit it's not in pain anymore, but my shoulder was in pain for quite a while.
Okay.
And then I was placed into the back of a police car.
And you were arrested for?
I was arrested for resisting arrest.
Okay. This is something that Pasco does a lot for some reason, and that's the reason they use to arrest you if you don't want to ID when you don't have to. So you're arrested for resisting arrest. In other words, they're trying to arrest you for nothing illegal. Then you resisted the unlawful arrest, so they arrested you for it.
Right, which is, well, there's several legal issues here. I think that there should be a law put into place that says if someone is arrested for resisting arrest, there has to be an underlying charge, because there's no reason for you to arrest me in the first place.
Well, isn't that the law to begin with?
It should be.
It is.
If you look on the docket, especially in Pasco County, there are tons of people who are arrested literally for resisting arrest. Now, if you're resisting arrest from an unlawful arrest, Plummer v. Harris,
yes.
I know it's an 1896 law, but it's still on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Plummer v. Harris states that you have the right to resist and use up to and including deadly force.
That's right.
To resist an unlawful arrest. Now, I didn't use any force, but legally speaking...
Legally, you could have.
Yeah, legally, I could have broke that cop's neck.
I mean, legally you could have killed all of them, but even though it's lawful to resist unlawful arrest with equal or greater resistance, including lethal force, if you actually tried that, you'd be underneath the jail. So even though you're correct, in reality, it would never work out that way. They'd be like, oh, well, it was an unlawful arrest and he killed them all. It doesn't work that way. But you are correct.
Well, you know what? I think that this case, and I know that we're going to get to the results of this case in a moment, but I think that this case shows that when you do stand up and you actually fight for the law, you can win. So I don't necessarily know if I agree with you there. I mean, I obviously would not want to encourage anyone to put themselves in that kind of position.
What I'm saying is, if you actually follow the law and resisted an unlawful arrest with lethal force, they would do everything in their power and corruption and whatever they had to do to put you under the jail and make an example out of you.
Of course, but
right.
They just try. They did everything in their power to try and.
There would be no assembling in front of the courthouse. There would be none of that because you would disappear basically.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. The cops will kill you. The cops will kill you before you ever.
Or you'd be locked up somewhere real quiet for a long, long time, not talking to anybody.
I agree. I agree.
Sure.
I would agree with you on that. But I do believe that it is up to us to fight for our rights.
Absolutely. Yeah, but in my opinion, you need to get you did great. Don't get me wrong. You did everything right. They shouldn't have touched you. Their egos got butthurt. They were on TV. They were trying to play games. They're trying to make it up as they go along, as they always do. And they actually couldn't take the fact that they were wrong, so they had to put you in custody to make an example out of you. But I always think the best thing is to say whatever you need to say and try not to get arrested, which I've luckily, believe it or not, I've never been arrested as much as the way I act all brash and stuff. So you're unlawfully arrested.
Cool.
So they take you in, they try to get you to answer questions, you refuse, and how long were you locked up for?
Well, let's back up.
Sure.
The first thing they did when they arrested me, obviously at this point they're not allowed to question me. So I'm sitting in the back of the police cruiser, and they Mirandized. They read me my Miranda, right? And another officer approaches the vehicle, and now they're trying to play good cop, bad cop.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, man, I don't really want to arrest you. I don't really want to make this happen, but, you gotta. So he's trying to get me at this point to say, hey, I should have given you my ID. And basically, bad little boy, all of this. And I say, you know what, I'm exercising my right to remain silent. From that point forward, I exercised my right to remain silent. So they bring me to the station, and during the intake process, they begin to ask me questions. Is this your name? Is this your address? Is this your date of birth? And I say, you just told me anything that I say, you're going to use against me in a court. I'm not saying anything except for call my lawyer.
Right.
Well, you don't have, and then they tell me, you do not have the right to remain silent in here. And I said, watch me.
Where do they get this notion? Where do they get this notion that you can't remain silent anytime you feel like in a free country? Where do they get that notion?
I don't know, but it didn't work out well.
Okay, so you remained silent the whole time, and then what? Tell me more.
Well, I remained silent. I was placed into administrative segregation several times in order to break me into. I was told, hey, this isn't going to work out well for you. So while they had other inmates who were going through the booking process out in the intake area, watching TV and things like that, I was placed into administrative segregation, which is a dark room, and with no, I guess you would say, amenities of comfort, which is fine with me, as many of my fans and listeners know.
Was there a chair?
There was a bench.
Okay, all right.
As many of my fans and listeners know, I've served 2 years in prison. I'm quite used to those conditions.
All right.
So it did not bother me.
Sure.
But they came in every several minutes. Are you ready to cooperate now? No. I'm ready to be let free, and I'm ready for you to call my attorney, which they never did. So after that, at some point in time throughout the night, they asked me if I wanted to see the nurse and if I would speak to the nurse. I instructed them that I will speak to the nurse about any issue involving medical issues, because I did want to document that my shoulder and my wrist were injured. Mm-hmm. But I would not answer any other questions for the nurse, including giving my name or anything like that. The nurse comes back to the administrative segregation cell, and she says, "Well, you don't want to talk to me?" I said, "Again, I'll speak to you about anything dealing with medical issues." "Oh, you just don't want to talk to me." And then she walked away.
That's not what you said, though. But that's not what you said to her.
Agreed.
Yeah, she's just playing dumb. That's all she was doing. Okay.
Well, I believe that she was, sent back there to try to break me or get me to speak.
Because police think you're as dumb as they are. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I did not receive any medical attention while I was incarcerated. To answer your question, I was in there for 9 hours.
Okay. In that same cell?
Actually, they moved me to another cell at some point in time.
Okay.
And then I was finally allowed to make a phone call.
Who'd you call?
And I called a bondsman. Now, I was told when I first came in that my bond was $150. Mm-hmm. I told them, "Hey, okay, fine, swipe my card." They told me they do not accept debit cards. So I needed to call a bondsman in order to have the bondsman come up, take my debit card out of my property, and bond me out and use my debit card as a form of payment to the bondsman.
Okay.
So I bonded out of jail.
So what do they take if they don't take debit card? That's like cash.
Cash only.
Like, what do you mean cash? Like Federal Reserve notes? Dollars?
Federal Reserve.
Paper?
Notes. Dollars. Paper, yes.
So they're forcing you to do business with a private entity. Go ahead. Go on.
I agree.
Okay.
At the time, I don't carry more than about $40 cash on me.
Sure.
So at the time, I had no choice but to bond out.
Sure.
I bonded out. One of the most disturbing things was that I was bonded out, and they told me that I would not be allowed to leave without them taking my DNA because I was a prior felon.
What?
I instructed them that I would not give up my DNA, and I was grabbed, a swab was put into my mouth and pulled out, and then that was the end of that.
Okay.
So my DNA was collected. I do intend to sue to have my DNA given back to me.
Okay.
And that was that's a serious issue.
What time was it when you got let out?
And see, this is something I don't know. There was not a clock available to me.
Nighttime?
It was nighttime.
What time did you get stopped? Oh, you got stopped at night.
We got stopped at night. We got stopped very early in the evening. I would assume
probably after midnight.
Correct.
All right.
No. We got stopped maybe 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I was able to get to a phone, as I told you before, when my phone was given back to me out of my property, mysteriously it had water in it.
Oh.
Correct.
Interesting.
So, yes, mysteriously my phone had been damaged. I have a Galaxy Note 8, so it actually instructs me as to what's wrong with the phone. And it gave me the water difference signal. So I was unable to make a call to actually get home.
So you damaged your property too?
According to my attorney, we cannot prove that at this point in time.
You can prove it was functioning before they took it from you?
I could prove it was functioning. Yeah, absolutely. Clearly it was functioning before they took it from me. Right now, they're claiming that they did nothing to the phone. But
of course,
my thoughts are they knew that I was taping. I don't think that they knew that I had live streamed it to Facebook. And I believe that they wanted to damage the evidence before it got out.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to walk. I don't know if you know where the Lando Lake Jail is.
I do. I live close by.
Okay. So I had to walk to the McDonald's, which is several miles away.
That's like 5 miles away. You're talking about 41 and 56, 54, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. In order to get to a phone.
Right.
And it was light outside. It had been light for a while by the time I got to that McDonald's.
And you're probably exhausted.
Correct. And they would not allow me to make a call before I got out of the jail as well.
And you couldn't call anyone to pick you up because they broke your phone.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. I wouldn't have been able to make a call anyway because I don't know phone numbers off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah. That's another issue we have these days. Go on.
Yeah. So, I had to walk to that McDonald's. It had been light for several hours by the time I got someone on the phone, and I got my father to come and pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of that.
That's the end of that night. Now, from there, you hired. From there, you said several lawyers actually contacted you, right?
Yes.
And you picked Steve Bartlett out of all of them. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why Steve Bartlett?
Well, there were several things, but to be honest, I just liked his demeanor. I liked how outraged he was by the situation. Not to say that the other attorneys weren't, because I spoke to quite a few attorneys. I even spoke to Attorney Ben Crump, the attorney who handled the Trayvon Martin situation.
Okay.
But ultimately, Steve Bartlett impressed me more than any other attorney, and I selected him.
Okay, and now you did how many demonstrations in front of the West Judicial Extortion Center? Or the West Pasco Extortion Center, sorry.
There we go.
Sorry.
I was involved in 3 demonstrations, but from my understanding, just from people that I spoke to yesterday, is that there were several more demonstrations in reference to this case that I was not involved in. I just wasn't notified.
Okay, so 3 of your own demonstrations. I saw at least 2 of them. I published one of them, and several.
The other demonstration was actually this Monday. It was in front of the courthouse right before we went in for our pretrial hearing.
And were they holding signs and stuff?
Yes.
Well, tell me what some of the signs said.
No justice, no peace. End police misconduct, those types of things.
Okay.
It was a much smaller group than was there on the first 2 days.
Okay, so when you get home, you get a lawyer, and now you start getting active. You're doing demonstrations in front of the West Pasco Extortion Center. You did 3 on your own, and some other people have done some on your behalf. Plus, you were never. The last time I spoke to you, which was about a month and a half ago, I want to say, or maybe 2, you said that they never actually charged you with anything yet.
That's correct.
So when did they ever charge you?
Yes. On now, there's a 90-day speedy trial statute here in the state of Florida on misdemeanor.
Yes.
On the 87th day, my attorney was informed that they had charged me with a crime and that they would be pursuing litigation.
What crime?
Resisting arrest.
Resisting arrest, but you don't know what you were being arrested for in the first place.
I was being arrested for resisting arrest.
But that's not logic. That's not. I don't even know the fucking words for it. Oh, I gotta bleep that out. Sorry.
It's a logical absurdity.
Yes.
To say that you are resisting arrest and there is no charge.
Right.
It is circular logic that I don't even know what I'm trying not to insult these idiots. But it's the circular logic that these morons, I can't say anything that's not insulting. It's the circular logic that these morons use to try and justify their own existence.
Right. All right. I mean, you get dumbfounded by that. Just the idea that you're arrested for not letting them kidnap you is based. That's a better way to put it. Arrested for resisting kidnapping. That's basically what it comes down to.
Well, I would say more kidnapped for not bowing down to their unlawful authority.
Yeah, you're kidnapped because you wouldn't surrender your Fourth Amendment.
Exactly. So, because ultimately we were kidnapped.
Right,
there was no crime that was committed. Therefore, no reason to arrest.
Or ID.
That is kidnapping. They when you take me into your custody and you have no crime, I don't care if you have a badge or not, you have now arrested me with no crime to charge me with. That's kidnapping.
But they're saying your crime was that you resisted their kidnapping.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. By refusing to give, and I want to make this clear because this is an angle that a lot of people don't think about. A strange man who I do not know
with a gun
walked up to my vehicle and asked me to give him my identification.
But he's a cop, guy.
I don't care.
I don't care either, but that's what police apologists will say.
Exactly, and this is the problem. You know, I've received so many why didn't you just give him your ID? Because I don't know them.
Not only do you not know them, there's no reason to give your ID. First of all, you're armed gunmen, several of you, in a gang with live PD. Secondly, I only have to ID if I've done something unlawful, which I haven't done. Why don't you just give him your ID and surrender your rights and let me exercise mine? Why would me exercising my rights bother you or any cop when they swore to uphold those rights? Think about that.
Exactly.
All right, go on.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And well, as I said, my issue is very simple. I don't know this man. Right. And I'm not in the habit of handing over identifying documents to strangers.
Yeah, well, what does he need them for?
Exactly. And it baffles me that people have, and I'm saying this because of all of the comments. You've seen the comments.
I get them every single day.
Yeah. All of the comments that I've received, all of the hate mail that I've received, all of the aggression and hostility that I've received, simply because I did not want to identify myself to a stranger. And it baffles me that people cannot understand. Yeah, a stranger with a gun.
Because they're indoctrinated from the first grade on that costumes and badges equal heroes, when in fact it's quite the opposite.
Well, and the thing about it is I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where cops were heroes.
Right.
So I've never looked at them that way.
I did, unfortunately.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
But I learned. Don't worry, I've learned.
I'm glad you come to your senses.
Thanks.
But I didn't grow up in that neighborhood.
Right.
And I don't know. And I certainly did not grow up in an environment where I provide identifying documents to a stranger without them having good cause to need those documents. I mean, if someone walks up to you on the street and an armed person walks up to you on the street and says, "Give me your ID," you're going to say, "Hell no."
Not only are you going to say, "Hell no," you're going to go into fight or flight because he's armed and you might pull your gun on him.
Exactly. So why is it so hard to understand why I decided not to identify myself?
Because they've been indoctrinated. Most people are indoctrinated from a child that police are heroes and they're here to protect us, even though all the Supreme Court cases say otherwise and everything that's been ruled is otherwise. In reality, is really the opposite. But they cannot break their cognitive dissonance. That's the bottom line. It's hard to swallow. It's hard to swallow that these people you've been told are your best friends, your heroes, and are here to protect us all are really, in fact, the biggest gang in America.
Agreed. And it's, I wish that people would do a little bit more research and do a little bit more critical thinking.
Yep. Well, because of people like me and you, brother, they are. Because of people who be before us, you know, who would actually write stuff in books and stuff, and people would read it and spread it out. It's growing. What you and I are doing is moving the cause along. Just like 25 years ago, smoking pot was like you're the biggest criminal on earth. Now, almost the whole country's legalized it. And slowly but surely, I believe if we keep plugging away and we keep pushing and we keep exposing, the tide will turn on the opinion of police and who they really are and what they really do, and government in general.
I hope so. But that opinion, as you know, has actually become dangerous to myself and my family.
Of course.
And this is why I'm so frustrated with the situation, because I've received death threats at this point in time.
Yeah, me too.
And we've actually, you know what's going on, and I don't want to spill the beans before you're ready to talk about it. But
about your driveway?
Yes.
Go ahead. This is
hold
on. This is before the trial happened, right?
This is before the trial happened.
So before the trial, tell us what happened at your house, at your personal residence where you live.
Well, 2 weeks ago. Now, I have been a vocal advocate for police reform. As a matter of fact, I because of this situation, I was contacted by the Stephen Farinick for Congress campaign, and I was made the campaign manager of the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the platform that I was espousing through that platform was to have police reform in a very real way, and I actually laid out a 3-part plan for police reform. I've been very vocal in Pasco County, and because of that, I have received a lot of resistance from some of the community. And this has manifested in several incidents at my home that are, at this point, becoming dangerous. The first incident was a simple incident. Someone came to my home and popped the tire of my truck.
Right.
And, I just replaced the tire and called it a day because, to be honest with you, I didn't want to call Pasco County Sheriff.
Yeah, because that could get you, that could make it worse on you. Exactly.
Exactly. But I did put it up on Facebook to document that the incident had happened.
Sure.
So, as the case persisted, when they finally filed charges, I became even more vocal. I was vocal on my radio show. I went out to the community and spoke to some people. And then on election day, I made the news several times that day. You'll see that I made the news once for the case because my pretrial hearing was election morning.
Okay.
9 a.m. on election day.
Okay.
And then later on in the day, I was shuttling people on my motorcycle. It was basically a treat. Hey, if you're going to vote, Andre Roxx will take you to the polls on his motorcycle, get a free ride on the motorcycle, have fun. During that time, I went over to, I can't remember which district it was, but there was a pastor who posted a sign in front of his church, which also was a polling station. And the pastor posted a sign that read something to the effect of, "Don't vote Democrat on Tuesday and then come into church on Sunday praising God." And I felt that this was voter intimidation, and me and that pastor got into an argument. Well, not so much an argument, a heated debate, I would say.
You and who?
Me and that pastor.
Okay.
Or I should say that pastor and I, but,
All right, yeah. All right.
Grammatically correct.
No problem.
So during that time, News 8 showed up. And they recorded several minutes of that argument, as well as an interview with myself and an interview with that pastor, and that also made the news, to which a lot of people responded to me through my email and by pretty much any means that they could contact me. And not all of those responses were positive. The next day, I went out for a ride on my motorcycle and was riding for several hours. I came home around 6 o'clock, and around 8 o'clock, I noticed that there was an orange glow outside of my window.
Okay.
When I went to investigate what the orange glow was, someone had set my motorcycle on fire in front of my home, and burnt it. Apparently, it had been burning for several minutes. As a matter of fact, I would say that if it would have burned for about 30 seconds longer, the gas tank would have exploded. I went to investigate the gas tank a little bit later, and I saw that the gas tank had begun to melt, and the fire had just reached the gas tank. I rushed to the side of my home and grabbed a hose and extinguished the fire.
So, am I safe to assume that that's somebody who lives nearby you? Did you see any cars or hear any noises, or because it sounds like they came on foot?
I couldn't say how this was done.
Yeah.
I'm sure that my neighbors, some of my neighbors, because this is Florida. Many of us spend a lot of time outdoors. I'm sure that somebody saw something, but of course, when the police responded, nobody saw anything.
No, of course.
Some of my neighbors took pictures of the bike while it was on flame. Nobody decided to knock on my door and tell me that my motorcycle was on fire. As you stated earlier, and I want to make this very clear to whoever set my motorcycle on fire, I have been looking for that motorcycle for 15 years.
That's a Honda Shadow Goldwing? Is that what I saw?
It's a Honda Goldwing Interstate model, and it's a 1985, and it had certain modifications on it that are very rare.
Is it totaled?
It is totaled. It is. At this point in time, it is unsafe to operate.
Okay.
That's something that was very special to me.
That's why they targeted it, because they knew that was a very special bike to you, and that's what started everything.
Exactly. And
so this person knows who you are, and they're a coward. I wouldn't doubt if it was a cop. I would not doubt that 1 second.
Well,
or a cop's buddy.
I'm not going to make any accusations.
I hear you. Let me do it.
What I'm going to that's right.
Okay.
What I will say is this. The sheriff's office was called, and of course the arson investigators. And the arson investigators deemed that the bike was as of right now, it is deemed suspicious.
Oh, really?
Yes, when they finish analyzing to see if an accelerant was used, then they will probably determine that it was arson. As of right now, it's determined as suspicious. So what I found very interesting, and I believe that this is a signal being sent to me by the Pasco County Sheriff's Department, the responding officer who responded to the call was the same officer who arrested me.
Really?
I believe that was done intentionally, and that was the Pasco County Sheriff's Office attempting to intimidate me.
Does he work in your area, or is that possibly a coincidence, or you think it was intentionally sent, that guy?
I'm not familiar with shifts and rotations with the Pasco County Sheriff.
So that's a little fishy too. Okay, so did he have anything stupid to say, or you guys exchange any words? Did he recognize you?
Yes, he did recognize me. He behaved in a professional, but I would say nonchalant manner. Hey, your bike burned up, whatever. But I mean, he didn't do anything that I would deem to be extremely unprofessional.
And you didn't berate his ass for false arresting you or nothing. You probably stayed all calm and stuff, like I couldn't be able to.
I simply told him that I would see him on Friday.
Oh, okay, at the court hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
He told me he had not received a subpoena yet. But yes, we did recognize each other. But I believe that he was sent. Let me put my conspiracy theory out there.
Sure.
And I want to be very clear that this is my theory, and I don't have any
hard evidence. That's fine. Go ahead. No problem.
Well, I have to say that because I'm a public figure.
I know. This is Andre's opinion, everyone. Calm down, guys. This is just an opinion. This is not based in fact, and he can't prove it beyond the legal degree of certainty. He's just going to give you his opinion. All right, go ahead.
let me put this out. Let's put a hypothetical out there. Let's call it that.
Sure.
Hypothetically speaking, if I were a police officer and I had either set a fire or instructed someone else to set a fire to send a message to someone, I would show up at the scene to tell that person without saying it that you have no recourse.
Right.
We have you surrounded. We have you under our thumb.
You're on our turf.
As we prove to you, and you can do nothing about it. Hypothetically speaking,
sure.
That's how I would do it if I was on the other side and wanted to send that message.
Sure. Hold on, Andre, 1 second.
Not a problem.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to send that message, that is exactly how I would send that message if I had the power and authority.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty much it. I believe that officer did not wind up at my home by accident.
Right. Extreme coincidence or deliberate.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I was not happy with the investigation on the fire. One of the things that I found to be very curious is that, number one, the fire inspector was upset with me because I used water to douse the flames, stating that I probably rinsed off any evidence of accelerants being used. And the second thing is, no fingerprints were taken. No forensic analysis was done beyond a simple scraping to see if accelerants were used.
Okay.
You would think that with somebody committing arson, especially on in front of a public figure's home,
mm-hmm.
That a more thorough investigation would be done.
Right.
I was given a business card and told to call my insurance company, and that was pretty much it.
And that will be it, and that's usually all that ever happens in general.
I believe that if they wanted to catch an arsonist, they would at least try and see if there were fingerprints.
I mean, if somebody set one of their cruisers on fire in their parking lot, you better believe there'd be a special task force assigned to find that person.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, go ahead.
At this point, I want to be very clear. It's not just about the bike. Though I am upset about the bike, this is my home.
Right.
This is where my father, who is a 26-year veteran of the United States Air Force, lives. This is where my mother, who is a retired teacher, lives. This is where my sons come.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dangerous situation at this point in time. My home could have easily been set on fire.
I hear you.
Not to mention there are people coming to my home, and I have children.
Right. And not to mention, the police are looking for any reason to hem you up. So even if you try to defend yourself, they might look for a reason to hem you up. The problem is now you have to be like me, and you got to get cameras everywhere. That's where it comes down to now, because you cannot be an activist without being threatened nowadays.
What's funny about that is I actually had ordered cameras a week ago. Mm-hmm. They will be installed on Tuesday.
Right.
Unfortunately, they were not up and available.
Right.
When this incident happened.
Well, you got them now, right?
Well, actually, they'll be here on Tuesday.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You hear that? I won't publish this for a while anyway, so.
No, that's fine. You can publish it. I have other defense mechanisms.
I hear you.
And I want to be clear here, and I don't usually speak in this manner, but today I will. Whoever set my motorcycle on fire, you are a coward.
Oh my God!
If you had any courage whatsoever, you would have knocked on my door and addressed any issue you had with me face to face.
Well, they can't. That's why they resort to violence. They're just like police. Oh my God! I'm so angry. I can't talk back with logic and reason, so I have to resort to violence.
They didn't resort to violence. They resorted to the pettier crime of vandalism. Violence would have meant approaching me face to face like a man.
Still violence against your property and your home and your domicile, man. Still a violent action. They don't know. You don't know what could have happened.
I would say saying that it's violence gives them too much credit as courageous people.
Oh, okay.
I would say that I'm calling it vandalism simply because they don't deserve the credit of they had the courage to commit violence. They had no courage.
No, of course
if you
not.
wanted to commit violence, come see me. I'm going to say this real simple, and I'm going to revert back to my hood a little bit. Come see me face to face.
That's right.
If you want to get violent, that's fine. Come see me face to face.
I mean,
don't creep behind the scenes and set property on fire.
Right.
That's the act of a coward.
I get them all the time. I wish they would have shot you. I wish you would have got killed. I hope you get killed. If it was me, I would have dragged you out the car. If it was me, I would have done this. And I always tell them, you should try. Why don't you go ahead and try?
Absolutely.
Go ahead and try. Stop talking. Stop punching the keys on your keyboard. I'm not that hard to find. I play pool and I go home.
Well, clearly this gentleman or lady or whoever it is knows where to find you.
Sure.
They know where to find you. I was sitting 10 feet from where you set my motorcycle on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You have no courage.
No. No balls.
You have no courage. And I hope that you live forever and have to look in the mirror every day of your life.
Dude, you're talking about the bottom feeder scum of the earth. That's what you're talking about right now.
That's correct.
And it's funny how those are the people who love the police so much. Isn't it funny? The most violent, cowardice people are the ones apologizing for the police all the time.
Exactly.
All right. And now, let's get to the meat and potatoes here, because my wife and I are going to the demolition derby in Auburndale. And
all right.
So, all this stuff happened. All the arrest, all the assemblies in front of the extortion center, the vandalism on your property and your motorcycle that you wanted since '85 and finally got it. So now on the 87th day before the statute of limit, or what is it called? The speedy trial runs out.
Actually, the 98th day. So they filed on the 87th day, which gives them 15 days to try me in court.
So 3 days before you would have been had to let go and dismissed, they filed basically for a 15-day extension.
Correct.
Okay, so you're charged. You got the court date. You and Steve Barling go to court on election day. Is that correct?
The first day we went on election day. That was for the pre-trial hearing. We were scheduled to have a motions hearing on Friday, yesterday.
Okay.
And we went to the motions hearing. We went to the pre-trial hearing, and they offered me a deal on Monday. The deal was essentially no jail time, no admission of guilt, but I would have been restricted from filing a lawsuit against the sheriff's department and the county.
Hell no.
So I turned down the deal.
Good.
I said, give me my day. Give me my day in court.
Okay.
So from there, we filed several motions to dismiss. One based on the expiration of speedy trial.
Mm-hmm.
One based on the merits of the case.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Bartlett could get a little bit more in detail with you on the legal aspects of it.
I wonder if he would talk to me. All right, go on.
I'm sure he would. He would.
All
right. But one based on the legal merits of the case. And at the time, we spoke to the prosecution, and there were no facts in dispute. Believe it or not, the police report did not lie. It's one of the few times I've seen in my life cops not lie. The police report accurately described the events that took place. So none of the facts were in dispute. The only thing that was in dispute was whether or not the arrest itself was legal.
Okay.
So
and it wasn't.
Illegal. I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Go on.
So we had a legal dispute, not a factual dispute.
Sure.
So our motion to dismiss was based on that premise. One of the first things written in the motion to dismiss was that no facts were in dispute. So the prosecution had agreed to that. But then when we get to the motions hearing, they filed what was called a traverse. which essentially says, we have facts in dispute. So they turned around and lied because now they're claiming that they have facts in dispute.
Who has facts in dispute? They're disputing the facts, or you? They're saying that you're disputing the facts?
They're saying that the facts that were presented are in dispute at this point.
By
so
whom?
They're saying that they are disputing that the facts that we had agreed on in all of the conferences prior to this are now being disputed.
By who?
By the prosecution.
The prosecution is disputing the facts of the police report?
They're disputing the facts that we presented in our motion, which they had already claimed that they were not disputed.
Okay.
And they did not say what facts they were disputing.
Sure.
But what that would do is that would give them 72 hours to come up with what facts they were disputing.
No, so it was scrambling.
Because of that, our motion was rendered, was decided against because we claimed that there were no facts in dispute, and now they turned around. Now, they did not present us with the traverse until we got to the motions hearing, so 5 minutes before the judge had to hear.
Okay.
It was a scramble. So the judge, of course, ruled against our motion, and we were set to pick a jury.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what happened between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., but my attorney received a phone call from Judge Public's office that he had reviewed our motion to dismiss, and upon further consideration, he was dismissing the case.
Oh! Case dismissed! Pull over that ass.
We won.
That's
and
right.
More importantly, what this does, even though it did not go up to a higher court or an appellate court or anything like that, what this does is it doesn't necessarily set a precedent, but it does set a standard of practice for anyone else who is arrested by the Pasco County Sheriff for this same issue.
For resisting arrest.
Exactly. I'm more than happy to provide the exact motion that we filed, and it should be applicable to anybody who is facing these charges right now. And they can argue, hey, this case was granted in this court
right
3 weeks ago or a month ago or something like that. And this is one of the things that the Pasco County Sheriff's Office was trying to prevent.
Go ahead.
At this point, every passenger who's sitting in the passenger side is going to start saying, or at least I hope they're going to start saying, hey, if you don't have reasonable suspicion, you can't have my ID.
That's right.
And they believe that this is going to make their job harder. I don't believe that this is going to make their job harder because their job is to uphold the law.
Well, it's going to make their tyranny harder, not their oath to the Constitution. Because if they followed their oath, it would be a piece of cake.
Exactly.
All right. So the prosecutor pulls some shenanigans, and then you guys leave, assuming you're going to start picking jurors. Between then and the phone call, the judge looked over something or probably realized that the prosecutor is playing stupid games and probably said to himself, all right, this guy's not backing down. He's not taking a plea deal. He's going to make all these cops look stupid if we actually go to a trial. It's probably in our best interest to just dismiss this and not have a dog and pony show here in my courtroom. That's the only thing I can imagine the judge was thinking.
One thing I will say is Judge Public was extremely fair throughout this proceeding. Yes, I believe, just judging from his demeanor, that he was extremely frustrated with the prosecution. Several things that happened throughout the trial or throughout the case. The prosecution attempted to rush us through the courtroom. So my attorney instructed them at some point in time that they wanted to have the trial on a Thursday. My attorney said, hey, Thursday is the only day I can't do it because I have 4 other trials going on that day. And then the prosecution made the statement, well, these guys are rushing us through a speedy trial, and if they're going to do that, then they have to be flexible, not us. And the judge was visibly frustrated. And our argument to that, which the judge agreed with, was you waited 87 days to charge us with the crime.
That's right.
Not the other way around.
And what was the response to
that? Essentially, the judge turned around and said, you know what? I'll make the calendar, and you all have to stick to it.
Okay.
But then the calendar was never made because he dismissed it.
I just come up with my own theory. Do you think the prosecution waited 87 days trying to get everything to calm down as far as exposure and media coverage?
I believe that was a part of their strategy.
Okay. And just to leave you hanging too?
No. I believe that their strategy, just judging from some of the things that happened, was to wait the 87 days to file the case. And then, of course, there's only 15 days to go to trial after that.
Mm-hmm.
So they filed the case in a manner where
everybody's right.
It made it very difficult for us to do things like get exhibits into evidence. There was a question at one point in time as to whether or not the actual video of the event was going to be put into evidence. Because
I sure hope so.
Well, it would have taken us longer to get it into evidence than they had to charge me. So, these were certain things that were being questioned, and could this happen? And could, I believe that the prosecution wanted to rush this through and have us thrown off balance.
Was the prosecutor a man or a woman?
He was a gentleman, a young gentleman.
Do you remember his name?
No. I'll tell you, he was a jerk, though. The guy really had a hard on for me or something, because he actually told the judge he would be seeking 1 year in jail. I think he was seeking jail time. He was
what?
Yeah. He was really upset when I decided not to take the deal.
His vagina started throbbing, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Go on.
Told the judge that he would be seeking jail time. Made several calls to my parole officer, by the way.
For what?
I'm not privileged to exactly what was said, but I was told by my parole officer that several calls were made to his office attempting to get them to violate my parole.
Oh, so we need to find this guy and put cameras on him, is what you're saying, and start asking him questions.
That would be great.
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me.
Works for me. Anytime you need me to show up. But I believe that one of their strategies was to try to get my parole violated before I ever went to trial. But my parole officer refused. He said, if you can get a conviction, then I'll violate him.
There you go. Okay, that's good. It sounds like you have some good government actors, objective people. So you did get a little lucky there. That's good. An objective judge and an objective parole officer and a good attorney.
Agreed. My parole officer, he has been great. He's never been a jerk to me. He's been a really nice guy. And, fortunately for me, after February, I won't have to see him anymore.
That's great.
He's been really fair.
Okay. So after February, you and I can go start putting cameras on public servants then, right?
Why do we have to wait till February? There's nothing illegal.
Just to be safe. Yeah, there's nothing illegal until they make us something up, just to be safe. That's why I can do some of the things I do, because I have a spotless record. I'm not concerned with that. I'm not concerned with that at all. I mean, okay.
I have a great attorney, so
we'll go earlier then.
We can go. Well, we can't go today. I have a birthday party to get to, but anytime after today. Anytime.
Sure.
Anytime.
Tuesday, we can go up to pick one of the extortion centers, and we'll go try to find some familiar faces.
That works for me.
All right. So you won your case. It took you tons of activism, tons of exposure, tons of social media presence, and tons of effort. But you did.
Money. Steve Bartlett was not cheap.
I believe it. That's why I always represent myself poorly. Anyway, I get what I pay for. But anyway, you came out on top. It took a ton of effort, but what you did is what patriotism is. You're fighting for your individual liberties against a tyrannical government who falsely arrested you. And then they try to play games in the court system.
Agreed.
And then I always get the stupid comment, "Oh, dude, just take it to court, man." Have any of these people been in a court in the last 30 years? They think courts are like this magical place where everybody's objective and doesn't have any bias.
Right. Well, the issue is, and you know, I got that message many times as well. Well, just take it to court. If I didn't stand up at the moment, I would have nothing to take to court.
Dude, they would have steamrolled you in court if you didn't do all the assemblies and the outreach and the exposure. They would have just steamrolled you.
Absolutely.
They have something to lose.
Even more than that, if I would have just handed him my ID, then there's nothing to take to court. That's considered a voluntary action.
That's not the point. It's my identity, and it's none of your business unless I've committed some type of victim or damages to somebody. Other than that, don't bother me, period. I don't care about your costume. I don't care about your weaponry. I don't care about your badge. I don't care about any of that. You're not better than me. You're not smarter than me. I can look up the laws just as easy as you. I don't know who you think you are.
Agreed.
All right. What else, brother?
Agreed. The last thing I want to say is, don't fuck with a guy's bike, man.
Don't mess with anything that ain't yours. Dude, I wish I was in there in a ghillie suit with an AR-15 and I just pop up when I see him flick the lighter or the matches. I just want to see their face. That would be the biggest thrill in my life. Just pop up with a pump action shotgun or something, and oh man, you watch their legs turn into spaghetti noodles.
Oh, that would be beautiful. That would be beautiful.
Maybe we might have to do some of that action too in the neighborhood. We'll see.
Last statement, because I did lose my bike. If anybody out there, because I know this goes out to Pasco County, is pulling an 85 or an 86 Goldwing SL 1200. It doesn't even have to be the interstate model because I have all of that. I got to at least try. Somebody help me out, please.
Somebody get this man a new 85 Goldwing International. What is it? Goldwing what?
Interstate. It doesn't even have to be the interstate. I have all of the modifications.
Okay. 85 Honda Shadow Goldwing is what you're looking for.
No, Honda Goldwing. No Shadow.
Isn't it a Shadow?
Nope, it's just a Goldwing.
Okay. All right. I pictured you more as a Harley guy, not a Honda guy, but all right.
No, it's a Honda Goldwing, and I'm a Honda guy. I gotta try. If somebody out there has it, please help me out.
Let me tell you.
I'm hurting right now.
Yeah, guys, get him an 85 Goldwing pronto. He deserves it. If you can donate it, it'd be even better. Or give him a really, really, really good price. Now, let me tell you about my bike. 1976.
I'm sorry?
Let me tell you about my bike. 1976 Honda Super Sport 4-stroke 750, the first super bike.
Woo.
I had that, and I was riding around with my buddy who had a Harley, and he actually died on his motorcycle, and then I traded my motorcycle for something safer, a sniper rifle. So, anyway, Andre, I appreciate it, man. We're going down to Be Little Rednecks now in the mud, and
let's do it.
I'll publish this in a day or two once I get it all edited and put your picture in there and some good stuff, and I'll let you know when it's published, and let's do something on Tuesday, all right?
All right, no problem. Do me a favor. Don't stop me with the part where I'm asking for somebody to help me with the gold one.
I'm only gonna mute the cuss words and put your picture and my picture maybe on the thing, and that's it.
Okay. I just need a new bike. I really do.
Get this guy a new 85 Goldwing, people. Stop playing. Donate it. Good price. Trade. Barter. Whatever. He needs one. He deserves one, and he's going to keep it in the garage this time.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, we're getting cameras. So.
And cameras, and tripwires, and claymores, all that, and sticky grenades.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I need a ghillie suit, too. And in all honesty, I do need a Kevlar vest as well. So if anybody's got one of those.
What kind of vest?
Kevlar.
Oh, Kevlar. I got tack vests and I got ghillie, but I don't have any Kevlar yet. That shit's expensive.
That's all right. I'll order one. I found one for $400.
All right, Andre. Congratulations on winning. Congrats on everything you're doing, man. You're doing what everyone should be doing, and we'd have our government back real quick if they all acted like you.
Let's keep the fight going, man.
All right, sir. I'll call you Tuesday.
All right.
See you later.